promised you I'd be back, so I am. I'm here. I had to put the AC on again because today actually it's slightly better. The weather is slightly better, and if I don't do that, the iPhone Mini 13, the 13 Mini, overheats in the car. Would you imagine? Unbelievable. Anywho, investment management, a science to teach or an art to learn. Anybody ready to vote? Anybody ready to vote for the what is it? The Woodbridge Association? Are you ready? Are you ready to pay more for your HOA and get less every year? OMG. We better get out there and vote for the right person. We better get out there and vote for the right person. Otherwise, you're going to be paying more for your HOA this year and getting less. Like, as I said before, we used to be able to go and have a good sandwich, or even just use the restroom if you're out there walking your dog or whatever it was, and you had to go pee for whatever reason, and you couldn't make it back to the house quickly enough. If you had one of those little Woodbridge badges, you could go use the facilities at our pools. Now, you cannot do that anymore. And I know it's nobody knows about it. Probably just like 2 people know about it. Me and the other nice person in the neighborhood that I met the other day, that I was like, hey, did you know? And he was like, no. Oh, pay more for your HOA and get less every year. Like, people don't even know that if anything happens to the exterior of the home, which is supposed to be covered by your HOA in our community, if there's a panel to be replaced or anything like that, it's on you, the homeowner, whilst in other places it isn't. If the HOA makes a mistake and messes up your sprinklers and destroys your door, and it looks puffy and messy and stuff like that, the wood has been messed up, and it's their fault 100%, they're not willing to pay for a replacement for you. Yeah, anyway. Jump into investment management. It's a science to teach or an art to learn, because that's what you're here for. But just make sure you go out and vote. Make sure you go out and vote for a decent Woodbridge people so that you don't get your HOA to stick it to you. Anyway, so the history of economic thought. Some sources underlined the need to include the history of economics and or of economic thought in the curricula. Not everyone agreed on this point. Some argued that economists have not yet distorted or sorted the two. Oh, my eyes. I did not sleep well last night. You can tell because I can't even read anything today. Let's do that again. Some sources underlined the need to include the history of economics and or economic thought in the curricula. Not everyone agreed on this point. Some argued that economists have not yet sorted the two competing schools of thought, but others remarked that studying different schools of thought broadens students' perspectives. Professor Leo remarked that limiting the teaching of finance theory to mathematical models deprives students of key understanding, noting that past market bubbles and crises are powerful reminders that the world is more complex than suggested by finance theory, he said. One striking observation is that economic thinking seems to have gotten poorer in some aspects, just as it got more structured and precise in others. Referring to Frank Knight's 1921 distinction between risk and uncertainty and John Maynard Keynes' 1936 description of the animal spirits of markets and entrepreneurs, Professor Leo added, yet finance theory tells us a different story. Uncertainty can be viewed as idiosyncratic risk and can be diversified away. The only source of return should be related to market risk premia and the scaling of risk exposure. Mohammed El-Irian, former CEO and co-CIO of PIMCO, with us 1.97 trillion in assets under management, said in an interview with Business Insider RO 2012 that even as a child, he was frequently prompted to read different perception or interpretations of the same set of facts. Referring specifically to his education as an economist, he said, Economics at Cambridge in the 1970s was not about seeing the world in a particular way. Instead, it was about gaining familiarity with four schools of thought, from neoclassical to Marxist, and from Keynesian to neo-Ricardian. Sorry, guys. Again, I was just looking aside because I get distracted by squirrels. It's just what happens here in this area. Dr. L. Arian went on to describe the benefits of such an education. Critically, the emphasis went well beyond answering the question of the day. It was also about gaining a broad range of analytical tools to dissect it, explore it, and extend it into even more meaningful territory. Put another way, how you thought about a problem was as important as the what of the solution. Note that in this comment, economic theory and political economics overlap. Economic schools of thought from Marxism to Keynesian to neoclassical differ not only in theory, but also in the views of society. Different economic systems are not different theories of the same economic object. Actually, they describe different societal objectives, different visions of all allocation of resources. Of course, this fact complicates the study of economics because theory is intertwined with political considerations. But as Professor K, 2012, remarked, economic behavior theories and models are context-specific. You have to go to page 52, apparently, to check things out. The need to study economic history or the history of economic thought to broaden one's ability to analyze financial phenomena was commented on by many sources. In a letter to the Financial Times, Michael Olivier, 2008, and senior lecturer in finance at the Open University and co-founder and director of Firm Global Partnership Family Offices, wrote the following in response to a letter in the Financial Times bemoaning the weak impact of economists in financial institutions. The more fundamental issue is to be addressed is why economists are not taken seriously. Over the past 20 years, I have watched in despair as universities and business schools have grilled students with existence theorems and trained them to be competent in mathematics, and mathematicians are frequently at the expense of understanding how the real-world macroeconomy works. The situations has become worse by the demise of economic history in the curriculum, a subject that not only contextualizes contemporary problems, but also helps economists think more broadly. There is no substitute for rigor, but we need to ask ourselves whether we are being too rigorous about the wrong things and leaving the finance industry all the poorer because of it. So Stephen King, 2012, group chief economist and head of economics and asset allocation research at HSBC, also lamented the lack of historical perspective. Too few economists newly arriving in the financial world have any real knowledge of events that, while sometimes in the distant past, may have tremendous relevance for current affairs. Admittedly, these events, example, the 1929 crash of the Great Depression, the 1907 crash, are not easy to analyze using modern-day mathematical and statistical techniques. The pre-computer world has its limitations too. There is no reason, however, to limit economic understanding to what can readily be downloaded into a spreadsheet with n degrees of freedom. A more imaginative approach is required, if only to expand the mind beyond what can be immediately sliced and diced in different statistical ways. Economic history can enlighten in booms and busts. Economists should not be slaves to economic data that reflect only the most recent experience. Comments similar to King's are not heard in the physical sciences. The history of development of physics is a subject of study itself, but it does not shed much light on contemporary physics. The reason is that physics is highly developed discipline with a rigorous empirical validation process. The problem of mainstream economic and finance theory is its divorce from reality, which makes it all but irrelevant for practical applications, such as asset management. The history of financial economics is relevant also because it would allow us to build a theory based on empirical data. Although, as Dr. King remarked, we have fewer data to run through our spreadsheets the farther back we go in time. Nevertheless, the speed of change was slower in past, and we might also take a coarse-grained view of past economic and finance data. Professor Schiller, 2010, commented on student dissatisfaction with the teaching of economics, particularly macroeconomics, during the current financial crisis because of its irrelevance to the situation at hand. He remarked, "The economics profession seems unusual when compared with some other professions. In complaints that the teaching is irrelevant to practical lives, there appear to be few complaints among physics students that their education does not prepare them for practical pursuits, such as engineering, but economics, particularly macroeconomics, is different from physics, not because of the mode of teaching, but because the subject matter is harder to conceptualize. Models have to be frequently discarded, and fundamentally new ones have to be brought to bear to make them relevant to changed circumstances." So this is one of the things that I've been talking about like forever. It is that when you do create history lessons and all that stuff, but also when you create a course, it has to be relevant to today. And most of the time, things are moving so fast that by the time a school creates a curriculum, it's already pretty much obsolete. So number one, when you're going to give a history lesson, you have to give a history lesson and make it relevant to today. So why did blah, blah, blah in the past do blah, blah, blah? And how is that relevant to what is going on in the world today? That needs to be part of every single course out there. But we know that it's not. And we know that we're teaching children a lot of things that don't even matter today, which is just sad. It's just sad, guys. And then on the other hand, there's the other issue of creating all these courses. Again, and I said before, a lot of the skills that you're teaching the children, they go out into the workforce, and I don't even know if I feel like a lot of the companies, a lot of the schools that are making courses for students are not really in bed or at least connected to the companies to know even what they're actually using in the office. Like, you may start working in the computer generated world field, whatever, the art field. If you're doing Maya, and then your company is not using Maya, it's like you're already you're basically trying to relearn everything that you've done in like 3D modeling, rigging, or whatever animation, and you're going into a company that's using different technology than what you're used to. You're completely out. The company might not even hire you because you don't know how to do the things that you need to do to hit the ground running. That's the new way of doing things in the modern world. Nobody cares about training students. Nobody cares about training new employees. You just jump in, sink or swim. That's the new way things are going. And so after your parents maybe threw away like hundreds of thousands of dollars for education, you jump into the work business world, and you're like, what? And then you just can't get in. So anyway, things to ponder when you're making curriculums for your students. History needs to be relevant to today. Why is what happens to this important figure in history relevant to what's going on today? Why is it important that we learn the skills that we can use immediately once we graduate from whatever school we're doing, whether it's a technical school, undergraduate school, or it's a university? When we get out, we need to work right away. Otherwise, why are you even going to university? So anyway, there's that. And also, the schools are not helping the children make connections with people in businesses out there. So by the time it's time for you to graduate and get the heck out of the school, university, you should already know lots of people in different businesses out there. You should already have applied to a bunch of things. It's not like, okay, just like when I graduated from the Academy of Art University in San Francisco. The only people that I knew were the only businesses that I knew were the ones that I knew because I had already worked in the field previously. And I worked for some of the teachers that were working at the Academy of Arts because they had their own companies and stuff to get myself started. But other than that, the school itself did nothing to help you out, to really like promote you or to help you get on. I think we had like one event. I think it was just one event where they invited you to go and talk to a couple of recruiters here and there. That was the only thing that happened. One event, hundreds of thousands of dollars spent to be at the Academy of Art University, and they did one event. And what they should have done was throughout the course, as you're learning skills, even the first year that you're in university, they should start getting you into events and understanding who the people are, who the players are, all that stuff, helping kids to get into the community. They did nothing like that. So anyway, that is why you have to be careful. You have to do the research before getting into any kind of school, any kind of university. Do the research. See how well that university is connected with the real businesses. See if they have continuous events where you can just show up even way before you're ready for stuff and start training yourself to learn how to get your resume together, get your portfolio together, all that kind of stuff, which is going to help you to become a valuable asset in the workforce. Otherwise, you're just wasting your parents' money or your own money, or you maybe took out loans. Even worse, you're ruining yourself. All right, so anyway, voglia di cucinare, cocktail classici e esotici. Let's gonna show you guys this part here. Amaretto Summer, Ambizioso, and Andrea. 3 different drinks. Let's start with Amaretto Summer di Salvatore Pio. Salvatore Pio is obviously an Italian guy. Ingredienti: 1/3 amaretto di Saronno, 1/3 bourbon whisky, 1/3 vermouth bianco martini, ginger ale, which is ginger ale in English. Servire in un bicchiere tumbler alto e completare infine con ginger ale. Decorare con una spirale di scorza di limone e con una ciliegina. We're going to go into ambizioso. Ambizioso means ambitious in Italian. Di Luigi Piantoni. Luigi, like Super Mario Luigi. He's here in this drink too. Ingredienti: 3 decimi frullato di fragola, 3 decimi frullato di opera, di pera, which is pear. Oh man, Pera Williams. Apparently it's a famous pear. Pera Williams. 3 decimi vodka, Neutra Arctic. 1 decimo amaretto di Saronno, Prosecco, Carpene, Malvolti. Miscelare i primi 4 ingredienti nello shaker con ghiaccio. Si serve nel bicchiere tumbler alto, completando con il prosecco ben freddo. Decorare con 2 mezze fragole, una fetta di pera sbucciata e con della mentuccia. So we've got mint in here. We've got pear. We've got, what are those things? Fragole. Strawberries. Those 2 words couldn't be any more different in the 2 languages. Anyway. And the last one that we're going to talk about today is Andrea di Angelo Chisotto. This one here. The drink is Andrea, but it's made, I guess, by D'Angelo Chisotto. Excuse my humanity. So, ingredienti: 4 ottavi Williams, 2 ottavi rum bianco Bacardi, 1 ottavo apricot brandy, 1 ottavo bitter Campari, mescolare gli ingredienti nello shaker e servire nella doppia coppetta da cocktail. Wow. Exciting, exciting. Tomorrow we're going to start with Anita. Anita is another cool drink, but a good reminder of Anita Clay, a great actress that you may or may not know of, that I'm a big fan of. Anyway, she recently starred in a Netflix series, which is pretty cool. So you guys can go check that out too on Netflix if you guys have Netflix. What are we doing? We can't do too much today. I gotta do Costco run and a bunch of other things, but I will entertain you for a couple of seconds. What do we have here? Yeah, all right. We'll just do one page of the 10 stages of diagnostics and therapeutics in traditional Chinese medicine. Oh, and I hate when that happens. I did this to the book by accident. See, got too many books. I got to finish some of these books. Yes, indeed. My wonderful friend. Yes, indeed. The AAU is it destroys lives. It really does. Destroys lives. Anyway, every time that I think about it, I get super depressed. Sorry I brought it up today. Shape of limbs. Swollen limbs usually indicate water or excess syndrome, such as blood stasis due to trauma. And again, before I read this page, I want to say about the AAU situation is the biggest issue is the teachers are nice people. It's the institution that is a problem. Because, like Tom Bertino and a bunch of other people that I'm not even sure they still work there, Sean Spitzer and a bunch, Edward Katz, and the list goes on and on. That I really enjoyed working with and learning from, but they're not the main dudes. So many actually gave up, left the Academy of Art because they were just done with it. And so this is not me talking about or hating on the teachers that work there. There were a lot of teachers that work there that I have great respect for and that really helped me in in the formation of my skills and the formation of the person that I've become. But it's just the institution itself is a disaster. Anyway, so shape of limbs, swollen limbs usually indicate water or excess syndrome, such as blood stasis due to trauma. Emaciated limbs indicate deficiency. Scattered hands indicate prostration of yang qi. Grasping hands indicate yin pathogen retention. Retention. So grasping hands. So apparently this grasping hands, if you see that in somebody, it means that they're retaining a lot of bad stuff, toxic stuff in their bodies. Inspection of fingers and nails. Hardness and softness of fingers and nails. Hardness indicates exuberance of gallbladder qi. So the qi may be excessive within the gallbladder. Softness, deficiency of gallbladder qi. Dryness and moistness of fingers and nails. Dryness indicates fluids is drying up. Moistness, fluids remains. Distortion of fingers and nails, the sign of rheumatism. Crooked fingers indicates soft bone due to weakness. So yeah, that's one of the issues that we run into in the modern world is if we don't do things such as a lot of the martial artists think that, they can stop doing the bone training, the fist training and all that stuff, smacking their fists against cement or, trees or whatever they like to do. If you stop doing that all of a sudden and then one day to decide to, because, when I was younger, I used to be able to punch stuff and break it with my fists. All of a sudden they do that and they break their hand because they're not getting the amount of vibration that you need to constantly get in order to keep your bones strong. You realize a lot of people that run throughout their lives, even like my father used to run all the way until he lost the use of his feet. He couldn't feel anything. The nerve endings in his feet stopped working, but he kept running nonetheless because he wanted his bones to stay strong. So if you stop walking, if you stop running, if you stop exercising, hitting things with your hands, breaking coconuts or whatever, if you stop doing that, then you should stop doing that. Like you should stop doing it altogether. Because if you do start hitting things again and you haven't done it for a long time, you might still have all the correct technique. You might still be able to bring chi to your fist and all that stuff, but your bones are so weak that they'll just snap or they'll bend, and you'll destroy yourself. Anyway, inspection of skin, shape of skin, swollen skin, usually due to water, wind, heat, toxin, obstruction of chi, blood stasis. Distended skin indicates chi stagnation or water retention. Dry skin indicates deficiency of both chi and blood or decline of tai chi. Moist skin indicates sufficiency of both chi and blood or exuberance of taiyin chi. Scaly and dry skin. The skin rough like bark is due to flaccidity of lung with hardness of skin and hair. If accompanied with darkness around the eyes, it suggests a long-term blood stasis, the sign of the advanced stage of blood emaciation. If accompanied with acute abdominal pain, it suggests internal abscess. So be careful. You may actually have a severe disease at that point. You have chickenpox, has clear and bright serous fluid in the root and no red circle around, usually is non-fatal, and goes without the phase of fever and fluid accumulation. You have the carbuncle, characterized by local red swelling. You have the phlegmon, which is characterized by flat skin with redness. You have nail-form boil, characterized by small size, deep root, and intense pain with white top at first stage. Let's see. One more page for you guys. We have the furuncle. F-U-R-U-N-C-L-E. I didn't make it up. I promise. I promise you. Furuncle. Appearing on the head, chest, or back, characterized by slight swelling and gradual ulceration, usually breaks out in summer. Among the 4 surgical diseases just mentioned, furuncle state is slightest, nail from boils is severest. Neuropathy. I'm going to research that one. I don't know that one. But carbuncle is of Yang syndrome and is easy to eliminate with phlegmon, is Yin syndrome and is difficult to cure. So, inspection of chest, chicken breast, usually due to distension of lung meridian involving the chest, caused by conjoint invasion by pathogenic wind heat, or due to chest malformation caused by deficiency. It is sometimes accompanied by dyspnea due to narrowness of the thorax. Then we have the flat chest, being susceptible to pulmonary tuberculosis. Barrel chest, usually due to lung distension or due to malformation. Inspection of abdomen. Enlarged abdomen accompanied by thick yes, for sure. And it could have been caused by lots of different things, but I think one of the side effects of interferon for cancer patients, if used too much, they will inject it in. They tend to inject it into their abdomen, lower abdomen, but you can only take so much of the drug before it starts giving you some really bad side effects. So at the end, when my father was in remission, they said, he was cured. He'd been using interferon for too long. They told him to stop. So yeah. What you got? enlarged, where would it get to? Chi distension, characterized by distension of chest and abdomen, emaciation of limbs. Water distension, characteristics by distension of abdomen with tight, thin, greenish yellow skin and emaciation of lips. Another important thing to note is that for all the people who decide to not do any exercise at all, whether it's running, whether it is lifting weights or whatever it is, one of the issues is that our bone structures get messed up from bad posture and all that kind of stuff. And if you are not constantly doing something, anything at all, you end up constricting your body, or at least pushing it in a position where even the vertebra, if you don't stretch at all times, they'll just get stuck in the positions that they are. Which is why it's useful to buy these very, very cheap, well, not very cheap, but you can buy one for about $100. They have these things called the inversion racks. Inversion racks allow you to be without gravity, because you're basically being held by your ankles, and you can just drop all the weight off your back. And this allows, because with gravity and stuff like that, human beings were still meant to be quadrupeds, at least for some part of our lives. Whether we want to admit it or not, we're still quadrupeds. So one of the biggest issues with standing all the time is that we're always applying pressure to our joints and to our vertebrae, and eventually they get squashed together. So the reason why a lot of our children are fine is because they crawl a lot. Doctors don't want you to know this because they want you to get all like messed up so they can cure you. But yeah, you should probably crawl for about 5 minutes every day. It's better than going out and jogging and stuff, because it makes all of your joints, all of your body do stuff. So whether you're doing bear crawls or just crawling on your knees, some people don't want to crawl on their knees because, especially, you definitely don't want to have, you want to have like jeans or something on your knees so that they don't get all messed up on the carpet or whatever it is. But yeah, on inversion racks, yes, you cannot stay for don't have to stay on there for very, very long periods of time, maybe like a minute or so. And if you already have a damaged spine and you just go onto an inversion rack, you have to be careful of that. So you have to always consult your doctor before you do anything that I ever say in any of my videos. But yeah, if let's say one or two of your things are like molded together, because sometimes that can happen. Sometimes your vertebra can get fused together over time because you haven't stretched, and they're together now. They're fused together. You go on something like the inversion rack and it tries to pull things apart, you can start having all kinds of issues. So again, with every tool, there's always going to be some issues. So, that's why I always say, always take things with a grain of salt when I talk about these things, and always consult your doctor before you do anything. But again, if you are in perfect shape, like you're a young person, you could do about a minute on the inversion rack every day, and it'll always keep your vertebra from ever getting together. You should also do exercise, and you should also stretch. All those things will help you keep a well-functioning spine for as long as possible. And again, as I said before, part of the reason why you see a lot of men today that don't look like men because they have very, very skinny upper bodies, noodly arms, is because we're not quadrupeds anymore. So we don't go on all our fours all the time. In the past, if you look at all the other animals, even monkeys, they spend a lot of their time at least on all fours or hanging from stuff. Do we do that anymore in the modern world? We don't. And so therefore, you see more and more men with noodly arms, me included. So from time to time, I have to push some weights. Anyway, with that said, guys, thank you so much for dropping by. I've got to do shopping and a bunch of things. It's gotten really late today. Weirdest thing happened, as I said before in the previous video. I woke up and I am no longer subscribed to any channel on any of my YouTube channels. I don't know what that... Usually it's the YouTube channel unsubscribes me from one or two of my favorite YouTube channels. Mostly it happens with Divina A. I've had it happen with Eddie Nunez, Dronixar, Iya's Vlog, you name it. It even happened with Dantana, Lamar Wilson. But today I was like, I went on there and I was just unsubscribed from everything. 2 channels, Disney Gym Girl and this one. I have no idea what's going on. Also doesn't allow me to subscribe to anything either. So that's an interesting glitch there. It's YouTube. Who knows what it's doing now? We have a new CEO, so we have no idea what's going on. Anyway, just wanted to remind you guys, if you've just joined the channel right now, who I am. This is your local Google guide here from Irvine, California, Woodbridge. Mark Reviews, who has now been renamed, yes, you've guessed it, Junk Dumper Reviews. So we're going to keep milking that until the end of time because it's fun. And it's also catchy. I should have named my very first channel Junk Dumper Reviews. If I had, maybe I would have had, a positive experience on YouTube. Who knows? But anyways, there's nothing that you can do today to fix that. But you can always join us again tomorrow for more book readings and hopefully fun anecdotes. And with that, I bid you farewell. Thank you, as always, for showing up.